link up, baby. You just hit my line for the wind down. There's only one thing on my mind when you come around me. I get lost in where you found me. Want you to use me. You let her confuse me. Don't wanna hide the fact that you make me feel that way. Want you to give me play. I see it in your eyes, you're lonely. Come put that body on me. I hit it right, I will. I treat you right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make you feel. They can't do you like I will. Nobody do you like I will. I hit it right, I will. I treat you right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make you feel. They can't do you like I will. They can't do you like I will. Like I will. I treat you right, I will. I treat you right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make you feel. I treat you right, I will. I treat you right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make you feel. I hit it right, I will. I treat you right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make you feel. I hit it right, I will. I treat you right, I will. They can't do you like I will. Like I will. Like I will. Pick up the phone, little baby. You got me up and I'm wavy. You know I want you to myself. You know you've been driving me crazy. Look at me right in the eye and tell me it's mine. If not, I'ma make it that way. You know I want you in a major way. I bless that body, make you share your grace. I've been trying to get you face to face. Fall through and give you ways to waste. I do what it takes. I make them walls sing on your heartstrings. Say your arms. I treat you right, I will. I treat you right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make it feel. I treat you right, I will. I hit it right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. Know how to make it feel. I hit it right, I will. Trust me, I got you, baby. I treat you right, I will.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so shout out to everybody who is in the room. If you guys can hear me okay, please make sure you guys give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, give me a thumbs down or an angry face, and I will try to fix that. I'm going to shout out everybody that's in the building early, and then we're going to get down to business, all right? We got Brooklyn Queen in the house. We got John Guillory in the building. We got Black Spider. We got DC Precise. Shout out to Tori and Rain. We got Christopher Perkins. We got Win Loser Rug in the building. We got Denise Scales. We got Lavanya Frank. We got New York State of Mind. We got Tilo Brown. We got Roots Trackers in the building. We got Greets. Shout out to my man Greets. We got Deneen Grant in the house. All right. And we got Black Spider. Good to see everybody. All right. If you guys have not smashed that like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. If you guys have not shared the stream to your social media, please do that. If you're not part of the Discord, I'm going to let the Discord gang handle that. Should they join the Discord gang? Let me know if they should or shouldn't. First thing that we're going to take care of is Chi-Town. All right. Shout out to Hobb. What's good with it, bro? We got some interesting developments going on in Chicago. All right. There's going to be a new migrant tent city on the south side. And the reason why I say that there is going to is because if you pay very close attention to what's going on in Chicago, it's very clear that the majority of the residents are not on board with this migrant influx. Would you guys agree? The majority of the residents are not on board with the migrant influx. However, Brandon Johnson and his administration are pushing forward with the efforts anyway. All right. So now this is the proposed tent city for the migrants on the south side. Now, since this migrant issue in any of these cities that have been getting hit with this situation, my question for everybody in here is, have you heard anything about what they're doing with the homeless people? What's going on with the homeless people since the migrant crisis? Because, you know, the homeless people, they didn't just go away. So where are they at and what's being done with them?
And right now here at 4:30, new evidence today that the city is preparing for a tent city on the far south side, even though there's been no official announcement.
The divisions created over how this migrant crisis has been handled brought the NAACP's leader to Chicago today. We've got much more now from our political reporter, Marianne Ahert. Marianne.
Good afternoon to both of you. Yes, with Chicago spending.
So now here goes my question. They got the NAACP leader in here. My question for you guys is, let's see who can be the most accurate at guessing. What do you all think that the NAACP leader is going to say? Make sure you guys leave it in the comment section. And whoever guesses the most correct, make sure that you guys show them some love, tag the name, throw some radiation emoji or some flames in the chat for them. Who got the answer? What is the NAACP going to say about this? Who are they going to advocate for? Are they going to advocate for the citizens of Chicago? Or are they going to advocate for the migrants? Or are they going to do some type of babble and try to make it as if they're advocating for the citizens of Chicago by encouraging everybody to advocate for the migrants? Let me know what you guys think.
Nearly $40 million a month on caring for the migrants. There are just so many questions, including how can the city afford it? And what about those in need who are also looking for social services?
This has been a real challenge for the people of Chicago.
Mayor Brandon Johnson held a private meeting with several faith leaders.
Man, there he is right there. Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson. Put some tomatoes in the chat for Brandon Johnson. Put some tomatoes in the chat for Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson should go down in history. He should be memorialized for hundreds of years as an absolute pathetic, soulless sellout. He is the poster boy for pathetic. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me ask you all this. When people voted him into office, despite the fact that we all knew that he would pull a stunt like this, do you think that those people thought that he would pull a stunt like this? Or do you think that people kind of just thought that he would be bad, but didn't think that he was this bad, so they decided to use the "I'm going to vote for the worst of two evils" type babble? Let me know what you guys think. Shout out to my man KO Kid Fit. Hey, if you guys agree with KO Kid Fit, he got the HIV commercial haircut. Give me a laughing emoji in the chat. He definitely got that HIV commercial haircut. You know what I'm saying?
This has been a real challenge for the people of Chicago.
Mayor Brandon Johnson held a private meeting with several faith leaders and the director of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. They presented a united front, even though some Chicago residents and even aldermen have criticized.
Okay, so I just want everybody to notice this. There are people here who are against immigration who don't even have their protest signs written in English. We live in a clown world, ladies and gentlemen. We live in a clown world. I want to make sure that y'all see this. It looks like they're holding up a menu. Looks like they're holding up a damn menu. These are the people that don't want the migrants there. And yes, absolutely, Janine. He's talking to church leaders. Facts. Now, let me ask you guys this. Why is he talking to church leaders? Right, exactly. Can we get a translator for some of those signs from the people who don't want the migrants there? There's also signs in Spanish. Look at this. You see this one right here? Proteger a nuestros niños. Some of these signs of these protesters are not not even in English. This is the situation that we're in. You know what I'm saying? Torian said, figured they would be butter biscuit eaters like him. Nah, you got a little bit of tamales out there. You got some crab rangoon out there. You got some wonton soup. You got a lot of interesting stuff going on out there. A lot of interesting stuff going on out there.
Have criticized Johnson's response to the migrant crisis.
We must respect the fact that the residents of this city, as it is residents for cities across the countries, they want solutions that's.
And I got to agree with my man, Christopher Perkins. If you guys agree with Christopher Perkins, not only throw a radiation emoji in the chat, but if you guys haven't smashed the like button on the video, make sure you guys take a moment and do that as well. Shout out to MC Fact. What's good with it, bro?
Both compassionate, but also solutions that will not neglect the issues that they are confronted with every day in their everyday lives.
The people who live here are saying, what have you really done special to help us? I have youth, I have families who are in desperate need.
Marsha.
Hey, and listen to this, man. I want to, and shout out to Lloyd Sky 9. What's good with it, bro? I want to give a shout out to a lot of the residents of Chicago, man. Let me ask you guys something. From watching this video on YouTube to listening to these people in Chicago, it is so good to see more people sounding more and more like us, isn't it? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? That is wonderful. We got to maintain the momentum. We got to maintain the momentum. Like Heisenberg said, nothing stops this train.
Eaglin with Impact Family Center sees the heavy equipment has arrived to build a tent city at the vacant lot at 115th and Halstead. Eaglin says the Johnson administration has not answered the community's questions.
We had a meeting and we said what we wanted as a people, as a community, and it does look like some kind of action is happening here. And we just don't understand. I've never gotten word that there was anything that was moving forward on this.
As for the participation of Black faith leaders, Mayor Johnson insists their role is significant, but he did not have any details.
Now, remember, it was a while ago. Remember when, and I got to agree, Torian, big facts. Has anybody ever heard anything intelligent come out of Brandon Johnson's mouth? If so, what was it, where, and when? Those are my questions.
We move on because apparently I've said it repeatedly that, let me just, I'm clear that Black pastors have already stepped up in this moment. Of course, we're having conversations about how the federal government and the state government has to do more. But I wanted to be emphatically clear because if you're not hearing it, I want you to hear it clear. Black pastors are stepping up as they always have stepped up.
To do what? What is he talking? Here's my question. What is Brandon Johnson talking about? What is Brandon Johnson talking? Black pastors are stepping up to do what?
Can we move on? Because apparently,
so see, he's irritated right here. So I'm interested to hear what it is that he was asked before this, because he's not very happy with that question, whatever it was. Shout out to Hurricane IQ. You see him getting all snippy. I'm going to tell you guys something. If you ever deal with a politician and the politician has the nerve to get snippy with you, the individual, the voter who put that politician in, the constituency that pays his taxes, get him out of there. Get him out of there. You know what I'm saying?
Johnson insists their role is significant, but he did not have any details.
Can we move on? Because apparently, I've said it repeatedly that, let me just, I'm clear that Black pastors have already stepped up in this moment. Of course, we're having conversations about how the federal government and the state government has to do more. But I wanted to be emphatically clear because if you're not hearing it, I want you to hear it clear. Black pastors are stepping up as they always have stepped up.
So the site at 115th and Halstead, it is also earmarked for a future development project called Morgan Commons. Residents are worried that if this tent city goes up, will this project still happen? It already has earmarked millions of dollars for it.
So now here's the thing. Why would they move a proposed migrant shelter to a place where there's already a project waiting to be put there? And I got to agree with Ricky Jones. They probably more than likely paid the Black pastors off. If you guys agree with Ricky, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
The mayor today says, yes, that will happen, but right now, we're going to need a tent city there.
Wow, interesting. I'm sure we haven't heard the last of this.
Absolutely not.
All right, thanks, Marianne.
So as you guys can see, Brandon Johnson, he's completely going against the interest of the people of Chicago, completely going against the interest of them. He's not paying one bit of attention to anything that they're saying, and he's moving on with his migration crisis agenda, which is more than likely to fill Chicago to capacity. Now, my thing is, and somebody had mentioned it in the comments before, Brandon Johnson better be a good boy. He better stuff as many migrants as he can into Chicago, or else I guarantee you they're going to start looking into some of those extracurricular dollars that he's probably been getting since he's been the mayor. And he's going to be on the cover of a lot of papers like how Eric Adams is right now. So now, interestingly, there's a law firm in Chicago that has stepped up. Now, let me ask you guys this question. What do you guys think that this law firm has stepped up to do? What do you guys think this law firm has stepped up to do? Because there's been a lot of times in a lot of cases where, you know, we could have used legal help, or we could use legal help, right? But it never came unless it came from us on our own, which is where everything comes from, us on our own, only, always, at all times. You know what I'm saying? But now when it comes to this situation in Chicago, a law firm has, quote unquote, stepped up to assist. So my question is, what is it that you all think that this law firm stepped up to do? We're going to find out.
Now at 9:30, we have a snapshot from the city of where the migrants bused to Chicago are actually coming from. This chart is new on the city's new arrivals dashboard. It shows a changing trend. Early on, buses were coming mainly from El Paso. Now it has shifted with a growing number of buses from Brownsville, which is a border town south of Houston.
We have a humanitarian crisis and an access to justice crisis.
Did you guys see the bottom down there? Free legal help for new arrivals. Who's paying for that? Free legal help with what?
And with buses on the move, the city has now received more than 21,000 migrants from the southern border.
And after trekking thousands of miles, at times in dangerous conditions, their journey does not end when they get here. A complicated legal process awaits. Casey Cronus is live in Studio 32 with the latest on that. Casey.
Dawn and Scott, on top of a language barrier, we're told some of the migrants who are bused here have been scheduled for immigration hearings in other cities like Denver and Dallas, but have no idea where those places are or how to get there.
So then how did they get to where they were at? And I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but we saw a lot of these videos. A lot of these people have cell phones. You mean to tell me that they can't use Safari Maps or Google Maps? Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Now, a local law firm is stepping in to help. Once on U.S. soil, new arrivals who are fleeing their home countries have 1 year to apply for asylum. But Kimball Anderson, a partner at Winston & Strawn, tells us during a recent visit to Chicago Police District.
Now, these are people here that are capitalizing. These are people here that are capitalizing on a quote-unquote crisis. Would you guys agree? And shout out to my man AB Promotions. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys show him some love. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat for AB Promotions with the $1.99 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. What's good with it, bro? Torian said, what they aren't talking about is how many are saying this isn't the American dream they thought it was, and they're trying to head back to their homeland. Oh, you know, we got to give that shameless plug. But if you watch to the end of the stream, you might hear something about that. They're not very happy up in New York City, I'll tell you that much.
18. He discovered many people were approaching that deadline and still didn't know where to begin.
I was approached by quite a few of the migrants, and they began asking for help. They, for the most part, had no resources.
So now here goes my question. If the migrants can't figure out where Denver or any of these cities where their hearings are at, how did they know that that guy was a lawyer and just come up and approach him? Shout out to KO Kid Fit. KO Kid Fit said someone said they talked to the migrants in New York and they say they ain't here to work. Now, here go my question. If they not here to work, what are they here for then?
At all.
Compelled to help, Anderson teamed up with his law firm's pro bono attorneys and other agencies like the National Immigrant Justice Center to host a series of free legal clinics, including one where migrants are educated on their rights and guided on what to do next.
Apply for work permits, to apply for a change of venue, to move their hearings from, say, Denver to Chicago, and fundamentally just to register their whereabouts with the Department of Homeland Security.
Meanwhile, the city has launched a pilot program for a one-stop work authorization clinic that aims to serve at least 150 migrants per day.
They all want to work, and first and foremost, get them off the street, because that's untenable. It's inhumane.
So here's my question. If it's untenable and if it's inhumane, then why did they do that to themselves and their families? Does that make any sense? Why would they do that to themselves and their families if that's inhumane? And I'm not trying to be funny, but that kind of tells you what kind of people are coming here if they're just voluntarily doing inhumane stuff to themselves and their families. Shout out to FBA Bro Reese. Shout out to Cannon Hotep. What's good with y'all?
Anderson says bilingual volunteers are needed at future clinics to translate. If you're interested in helping, we have more details on our website, fox32chicago.com.
I got a question for everybody that's watching. How many of you all are interested in helping? If you guys are interested in helping, give me a thumbs up. If you're not interested in helping, throw some tomatoes in the chat. I know you guys are interested in helping. It's all good. I'll get those I'll get that information for you guys and put it into the Discord. I know Hurricane IQ and Lloyd Sky 9, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm just playing. So apparently there was some static at one of the city council meetings. Of course, Brandon Johnson sitting here looking crazy. Woman tells Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson to his face, "You've got to stop the buses from coming in." Now, let me ask you guys a question. What would stop these buses from coming in? Is there anything that we could possibly do that would stop the buses from coming in? You guys should actually look at the comments. Shout out to Torian Rain, because Torian does really good videos about comment sections in videos. You guys should really look at the comments section of this video. The things that shout out to Black Alpha Network, that the W people in the comment section are saying is wild. It's very wild. Now, I want to just get a gauge here in case any of those people, which we know those people boycott our content, so they'll never come over here because they don't have the guts. But how many people do you all think voted for Brandon Johnson, quote unquote, because he's black? White America is under the impression that Chicago voted for Brandon Johnson because he's black. Just want to make sure that we clarify and have some data in the comment section. I don't think that any of those people in Chicago voted for Brandon Johnson because he's black. Maybe a small percentage of people, but I don't think most people did, because there were other people that were running. There were other black people that were running. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really sure why anybody voted for Brandon Johnson. Lori Lightfoot was also running in that election, and she lost. So my question to everybody that's watching here, why did people vote for Brandon Johnson? And that's another and very relevant question. Facts, Torian. How many people voted for Brandon Johnson who are black is another question. Facts. And I gotta agree with Cannon Hotep. Cannon Hotep said he had the money machine behind him. And if you ask me, it's so blatantly obvious that Cannon Hotep has the money machine behind him. It's so obvious. So obvious. Deneen says they like this haircut. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He looks like he could pop the top off of or pop the cork out of a wine bottle. You know what I'm saying?
Is Sister Zakia Muhammad.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to say good afternoon to the City Council.
Now, that's an interesting point. Shout out to FBA Bro Reese. FBA Bro Reese says some people voted for him due to being from the West Side. I could definitely see that. He probably sold himself as a around the way boy from the West Side who made it into politics and tried to make himself as relatable as possible. I could definitely see that.
Members, the media over there, and to my brother, Mayor Brandon Johnson, who we fought on some fronts together. And all those fronts we fought on together when I was with SCIU or anything else out there in the street, Brother Brandon, you have always been on the right side of history. That's why I campaigned for you, and that's why I voted for you. That's why I encouraged others to vote for you, because I knew and I felt in my heart you would be on the right side of history. And that meant including your people, descendants of enslaved Africans. Brother, you...
Uh-oh. 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 Man, he's about to get called out. He's about to get called out.
I encouraged others to vote for you because I knew and I felt in my heart you would be on the right side of history. And that meant including your people, descendants of enslaved Africans. Brother, you got to stop the buses from coming in. You just got to stop the buses coming in because it's hurting your people. I'm talking about descendants of enslaved Africans. We're hurting the things that our people been on the waiting list come for. The immigrants are coming in, getting everything. And I don't have time to go into all of it because I have another concern. When I used to come down here under Harold Washington and we were fighting Ed Burt, Badoliak, and the rest of the haters of black people that sat in these seats down here, we had two Latino aldermen. We had Luis Gutierrez and Jesus Garcia. They never pushed a black woman around. They never voted against black people's issues. They never held meetings behind Mayor Washington's back to form committees. They never tried to take black wards and black precincts. I thought we were on our way to a black and brown coalition. But you know what? I thought I...
Womp, 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 womp. Womp, 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 womp. No, we're not on our way there. We're not on our way to that.
I'd see it under you. But you know what? Carlos Ramirez, he spoiled all of that. And it was disrespectful to every black man down there on that floor, including you, that he's comfortable enough to put his body in front of a black woman, you understand, and tell her what she can't do, because she know ain't no strong black men down there that's going to confront him. He know his people got his back. I wish it had been me he pushed. But I'll just go on to say this. Something has got to be done because all black women ain't satisfied with Emma Mick's apology. And if we...
Oh, this is a very complicated rant. This is a very complicated rant. She's on the bullseye and off the dartboard at the same time. Would you guys agree? How do you do that? How do you hit the bullseye and miss the entire board? I don't know. I've never done that myself when playing darts, but you're actually watching that happen right now. You know what I'm saying? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. If you guys haven't smashed the like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please hit the bell and share the stream to your social media.
Has got to be done because all black women ain't satisfied with Emma Mick's apology and forgive. We ain't for it. But back to the buses, my brother, please, coming from your elder. We've been talking, the elders been talking. We're looking for you to help us on this issue. Stop the buses. Please stop those buses from coming in here. Will you please? Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Sister Muhammad. Our next speaker is Chris Warden.
Brandon Johnson is clueless. Would you guys agree? I mean, like, I'm not trying to be funny, man, but it's almost embarrassing to sit there and watch him just stand there like just he doesn't have any animation whatsoever. That is why I call him an NPC. He just sits there clueless. He's lost. He's a clueless politician.
Our people that we selected to help us out are selling us out, and they just got office. We need to repeat.
So now there you go, right there, Torian. Torian just had asked about how many of the people that voted for Brandon Johnson are indeed black. There goes one of those Brandon Johnson voters right there.
Our people that we selected to help us out are selling us out, and they just got office. We need to repeal everything downtown, including the mayor.
From Roseland to Brighton Park, residents are not backing down in the battle over migrant encampments in their neighborhoods.
At the same time, temperatures are dropping, and city leaders say they have reached a critical point in their effort to shelter new arrivals.
Casey Cronus is live in Brighton Park with the latest. Casey.
Hey, Don and Scott. Well, this community has been one of the most vocal over the city's plan to house migrants here. Day after day, they have gathered outside of...
Shout out to FBA Bro Reese. FBA Bro Reese says, I was just at the black church on Oakley and Madison. The majority of black people in that church regret voting for Brandon Johnson and Joe Biden. It's good that they've realized that they made a mistake. Now, here's my question. How sustainable is it for them to maintain understanding what kind of mistake they made and how to implement better processes to make better decisions? One way is we got to get more eyes on people watching people like Torian Rain and TD Hip Hop Media and Kid Gravity so that they get good information to be able to properly vet these politicians and see exactly what kind of politicians can be put in or what kind of grassroots efforts can be made to get our interests back. We can't just vote on people who are not interested in our interests because if you ask me, none of these bought and paid politicians have any interest in our interests. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that we got to do is we got to increase our media presence and spread the word of mouth, social media. If the church was on the right side of history, that would be a great place for people to actually get good information. But the problem is that the church is damn near bought and paid for by the Democratic Party. And I agree, MC Fact. MC Fact says he's not clueless. Unfortunately, for the people, he knows what he's doing. He's a paid-off shill. I agree 100%. If you guys agree with MC Fact, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
The encampment site, and today they took their voices to the streets.
We say no. We say no.
It's become a familiar sound in Brighton Park.
The mayor sold us out. The other woman sold us out. They're not doing nothing for my community.
Residents pushing.
And I actually agree with Black Spider. Black Spider says disagree. He's very focused on what he was put there to do and nothing is going to get in his way. Yeah. And I believe that NPC act that he does, just acting like he's completely clueless, it's an act. It's a cover that he puts on.
The city to reverse course on building a migrant encampment at 38th and California. Community members feel they've been kept in the dark, and a big question remains, is the land even safe?
A long time ago, they tried to make a park. They couldn't. They tried to make a school. They couldn't because it's contaminated.
Alderwoman Julia Ramirez announcing city crews will be on site Monday through Wednesday for more environmental testing. And with more people, a potential uptick in crime is also a concern. The city has told them police patrols will be ramped up, but residents want specifics.
Because they're talking about over 2,000 people.
Also next week, we're told a gate on the west side of the lot along Sacramento will be replaced.
You got a lot of excess. You got the railroad tracks.
Video from this angle shows just how vast the property is. 2 city blocks. On the south side near 115th and Halstead, a similar battle is unfolding. The city looking to build an encampment in an old Jewel parking lot at 115th and Halstead. Some neighbors left feeling like the resources they need are being overlooked.
It's too much.
So now here goes my question. I think that one question that people need to start putting on the city of Chicago is what is going to happen with the resources that we're supposed to get? What are we going to get back for our taxpayer dollars? And start demanding return on their taxpayer dollars. Let me ask you, I think that that's a wonderful statistic that voters need to start keeping track of. ROTPD. Return on taxpayer dollar. Why? Because if you did an investment, you would calculate your ROI, you would calculate your return on investment, whether it's through capital gains or through interest earned or through dividends paid. So there should be a return on investment. There should be a return on taxpayer dollar. What is the return on taxpayer dollar that these politicians are giving back to the voters? If the return on taxpayer dollar is negative, you got to go. That's one bad indicator for you. Shout out to Katsy. What's good with it, Katsy?
All our taxpayer dollars is paying for something, and we barely make it.
Alderman Ronnie Mosley, who represents those Southside residents, released a joint statement with Mayor Brandon Johnson today, saying they are committed to serving the needs of the community there. Reporting live in Brighton Park, Casey Cronin, Fox 32, Chicago.
Now, when Brandon Johnson says that he's interested in serving the quote-unquote needs of the community there, what he's not telling anybody is that when he's talking about the community, quote-unquote, he's actually talking about the migrants as if they're already a part of the community. He's not actually talking about the quote-unquote legacy citizens of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? He's not talking about them. So now what we have next here is Brandon Johnson addressing people from the city during a migrant crisis question and answer session. Now, my question for you all is, if you all have any questions that you would ask Brandon Johnson, make sure you guys drop them in the chat and hopefully they'll get answered. But I got a feeling that every question that is going to be asked to him, we're already going to know the answer. We're already going to know the responses. And even if a rock the size of Yankee Stadium fell out of the sky, Brandon Johnson is going to move forward with his immigration initiatives, despite the outcry from his constituency. He's more than likely going to be a one-term mayor. And if you ask me, he's earned it.
Steps you guys talked about to address the racial divisions that have been, heated because of the migrant influx, and is that knocking on doors? Is that events? Is that faith events? What kind of specific steps are you going to take to
And shout out to Denise for hitting the night bot. Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, well, what I think the first thing is that we have to tell the entire truth and the entire story. Because this notion that it's only Black people who are concerned about the migrant crisis is not true. So some of the conversation around this division, there are individuals who want to score political points to sow these negative seeds to get us fighting one another. But in order for me to have an entire commission dedicated to reparations, as well as an entire office dedicated to reentry, a dedicated revenue stream for the unhoused, that requires Black, brown, and white votes.
I want to make sure that you guys heard that. Shout out to Win Loser Rug for being a like enforcer. Shout out to all the like enforcers out there. Shout out to Eddie Lee. What's good with it, bro? What is this dude talking about?
Mayor, can you please share some specific steps you guys talked about to address the racial divisions that have been, heated because of the migrant influx? And
so now she asked him to address the racial division, right? She asked him to address the racial division. Now, the racial division could have been any racial division, right? But he goes directly into talking about Black people. And I got to agree with Denise Scales. Diarrhea of the mouth with his lying ass.
Like, is that like knocking on doors? Is that events? Is that, you know, faith events? Like, what kind of specific steps are you going to take to heal?
Yeah, well, what I think the first thing is that we have to tell the entire truth and the entire story. Because this notion that it's only Black people who are concerned about the migrant crisis is not true. That's right. So some of the conversation around this division, there are individuals who want to score political points, to sow these negative seeds, to get us fighting one another. But in order for me to have an entire...
Okay, so now here's my question for everybody watching this. Have you all heard any politicians talk about this in terms of quote unquote racial division? I don't even think that there's any politicians who's even discussed any of the race dynamics behind that. Mainly people who are doing commentaries, political commentators, people making YouTube videos, people making posts on social media, and citizens of these cities are the ones who are talking about this in terms of quote unquote racial division. There's no politicians who have said anything as far as quote unquote racial divisions go in regards to the migrant crisis. Look at Brighton Park. There's not even any Black people at those Brighton Park meetings. So if the opposition to the migrant issue is only Black people, like what Brandon Johnson's peanut head about to sit up here and say, my question is, how do you explain the meetings in Brighton Park? We haven't got a chance to look at the Brighton Park protests and the Brighton Park City Council meetings, but I plan to eventually. And when you guys look at the Brighton Park City Council meeting, town hall meetings, you will notice something very interesting about the makeup of the participants of that meeting. I'm going to ask you guys before we even get a chance to look at them, because that's going to be a whole nother stream. But my question is, what do you all think the participant makeup looks like at the Brighton Park meetings?
A commission dedicated to reparations, as well as an entire office dedicated to reentry, a dedicated revenue stream for the unhoused. That requires Black, brown, and white votes. In fact, you know, the city council has actually demonstrated that even the things that Black folks are concerned about, that it turns out that other members of city council agree. Look, the whole impetus behind what's happening at the border is for extremism in this country to plant these seeds of negativity to divide.
He had to look down at his notes. He had to look down at his notes. Brandon Johnson is shameful. He's shameful, man.
Our city. And so what we are doing as a city is what this city did when they elected me, is that we surround ourselves around our values. We speak to our values.
What the city did when they elected you was made a huge mistake. That's what the city did when they elected you. They made a huge mistake.
By passing paid time off, by abolishing sub-minimum wage, which of course is going to benefit Black and brown people, and that we're going to continue to do what we do best, and that's organize our communities around the values that make the city of Chicago the greatest city in the world.
Claire, you're here with a number of Black pastors, and one of the issues that we've seen happen or not happen is Black churches stepping up to take in some of these migrants. Did your discussions today?
And shout out to Christopher for noticing this, right? Christopher says, why are the reporters so focused on Black churches and pastors helping the migrants? Did you guys hear what this reporter just asked him? This reporter just asked him, why are the Black churches not taking in migrants? You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious. Listen to this.
Our communities around the values that make the city of Chicago the greatest city in the world.
Claire, you're here with a number of Black pastors, and one of the issues that we've seen happen or not happen is Black churches stepping up to take in some of these migrants. Did your discussions today include any discussions about Black churches stepping up, and are you asking pastors to do that part in this situation?
You know, the beauty of this moment is that I don't have to ask people who are tethered to a faith that's bigger than a government to step up and do right by people. There are Black leaders that are stepping up and leaning in and supporting migrants in this moment. There are Black pastors.
Has anybody ever went and asked the Asian church or any of these Latino Catholic churches what they plan on doing? If I was Brandon Johnson, I would have told him, stop asking us to do stuff that you don't see anybody else doing. Right. Basically, if you guys agree with Cannon Hotep, and speaking of which, by the way, if you guys aren't subscribed to Tori and Rain, if you guys aren't subscribed to Cannon Hotep, make sure you guys go and check both of their channels out. And also KO Kid Fit. Cannon Hotep says, so what he's saying is stop complaining. Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. In his own smug, nonchalant way.
Who are stepping up and making sure that the dollars that are appropriated for violence prevention, that the council was prepared to vote for that. You know, the whole work around reentry, Reverend Marshall Hatch has an entire village on the west side of Chicago called the Ma'afa Project that is dedicated to making sure that individuals who are formerly incarcerated get another chance at economic security.
What about the migrants? Have you had any discussions about Kenya?
Exactly. If you guys agree with FBA Bro Reese, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And even better question, facts. Shout out to Deneen. What about the white church, or as people have dubbed them, the quote unquote mainstream? What about the mainstream churches? Right? What are the mainstream churches doing? I think that that's a great question. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 62 people watching and we got 45 likes. If everybody can bang that like button and get us over 100, that would be great.
What I'm saying is that Black leaders in this city have always stood up for what is right. They're doing what they've always done, which is leaning in and supporting not just
Black, quote unquote, Black leaders in that city have not always stood up and done what's right. You're not standing up and doing what's right. You're not standing up and doing what's right. You are unapologetically selling out the people that gave you all of your power that you don't deserve. And then getting in front of an audience of outsiders babbling. You're not doing what's right. What are you talking about?
This crisis, but every single crisis that this city has had to endure. What we don't ever have to debate is where the Black church stands when it comes to justice. And this situation is no different. I've answered your question.
I haven't heard you answer the question.
Which part of my question are you not understanding? What part of my answer that you're not understanding? What I'm saying is that they've already done it.
So look at this. I don't know who I don't know who this reporter is, but this reporter is very invested in and putting a lot of pressure on him to answer this question of, are you making these churches take in these migrants? Are you guys hearing that? That reporter is very aggressive about that. that reporter is very aggressive about it, but Brandon Johnson he kind of sassy though. I never really seen Brandon Johnson show any emotion. He kind of sassy with it.
Doing what they've always done, which is leaning in and supporting not just this crisis, but every single crisis that this city has had to endure. What we don't ever have to debate is where the Black church stands when it comes to justice. And this situation is no different. I've answered your question. Which part of my question are you not understanding? What part of my answer that you're not understanding? What I'm saying is that they've already done it, is what I'm saying. They've already done it. You don't understand that they've already done it? Can we move on? Because apparently, I've said it repeatedly, that let me just, I'm clear, that Black pastors have already stepped up in this moment. Of course, we're having conversations about how the federal government and the state government has to do more.
It sounds to me that whoever this reporter is asking this question is really invested in attempting to beat Black people into doing Democrat dirty work. Right, exactly, Tori, and shout out to Brooklyn Queen. So because the Black church helped before, they by default have to be the shoulder to lean on. And see, and that's what these people are finding out, is that instead of getting the shoulder to lean on, nowadays in 2023, a lot of people are finding themselves facing a cold shoulder from us, and they don't know what to think about it. And it is what it is.
But I wanted to be emphatically clear, because if you're not hearing it, I want you to hear it clear. Black pastors are stepping up as they always have stepped up.
I do have a different question, but I am going to back up my colleague in saying I think he's just asking how many churches have taken Encampment. Our churches taking Encampment. That's it.
Sure. Well, a number of them have stepped up, and we're going to continue to push for.
I want you guys to know something that's extremely interesting that's going on right now. If you go and look at my YouTube video, it says that my YouTube video has 59 views, yet the live viewer count is 62. So my question is, how does the video have more viewers than the view count? Does that make any sense? I want y'all to go take a look at that real quick. I'm about to refresh this screen again. Let me see. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. 59 views, yet there's 63 live viewers. Somebody make that make sense. Shout out to Crew Royalty B1. What's good with it, bro? And real quick, you guys, if you guys haven't smashed that like button, make sure you guys smash that like button. Let's get the likes over the amount of views. So YouTube can really look stupid. We got 63 people watching and we got 52 likes. We need to get the likes over 59. Let's get those likes over 59. We need over 60 likes to make the YouTube really not make sense. So let's do that.
For more of them to step up.
All right. But I do have a question. Can you talk a little bit about your pick as the new health commissioner, why she was chosen, and why you believe she will make a better health commissioner than Allison Arwood?
Well, as you know, public health is an important part of my administration, and as I've said repeatedly, our work to pass treatment, not trauma, was an essential part of my campaign, and we've delivered on that promise. Opening up mental health clinics, which were shut down by a couple of administrations ago, that we are obviously moving with expedition to make sure that public health reaches every single neighborhood. Dr. Ige is an incredible human being. Quite frankly, she really imbibes the collaborative, competent, compassionate spirit.
And Tedra's got a great point. Right, the AI screenshotters and the YouTube mods, facts. Tedra's got a great point. She says they blame the black churches for not doing anything to help with crime in the city, but expecting them to help with the migrant issue. Facts. Big facts. Make it make sense.
That I've said from the very beginning that leadership in my administration has to imbibe. And the vote and the confidence that she has from community leaders, as well as key stakeholders that understand that public health has to be, a system of care, that she represents the values in which the people of Chicago want to see.
Hey, shout out to my man FBA Bro Reese for doing the most. FBA Bro Reese says, I'm watching you through my TV and my phone. I was able to give you 2 different likes. Yo, I appreciate it, bro. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat for FBA Bro Reese for putting in that extra work, for being a like enforcer.
In their public health commission.
Mayor, in addition to what you said a moment ago about the efforts of clergy stepping up to address the migrant crisis and your calls repeatedly on state and federal government to step in for help, given all of that, is it time for your office to acknowledge that the city is struggling to address the needs of this crisis?
I don't know which part of my time in 6 months as mayor that we have not acknowledged that we cannot bear the responsibility alone. That this responsibility, of course, has placed a tremendous amount of stress on families. That has always been acknowledged.
But I guess specifically at our juncture now, I mean, we're entering winter months. It's getting colder. I think people are curious about what is the assessment of the proposed base camps. I mean, I don't know that people have seen tents pop up or things happening. So
we have stood up. Yeah, I think I understand your question. I think I understand the second part of your question. Is that what are we doing in this moment?
Right. As the city moving quickly enough to address this crisis.
Well, look, I've stood up a brand new shelter every single week since I've been in office.
Hey, do you know what's interesting? Why is it that there's not been any interviews of Greg Abbott about him sending the migrants all over the place? Has anybody in here seen anyone interview Greg Abbott or any of the governors in places that are busing migrants? Have any of those people who are busing migrants been interviewed about what what they think is going on at any of these other states that they've sent migrants to? I think that it's interesting that literally just, Greg Abbott just disappeared. He has nothing to do with this. You know what I'm saying? We just won't talk about him. Isn't that fascinating? How does that work?
That we renegotiated a contract with a staffing agency that I inherited to reduce costs. We put out RFPs for support for individuals who can help manage facilities, as well as provide food and support. But what we can't lose sight of is that the plan that I have put forth and I've carried out, that it requires investments from the state and the federal government. I've said that repeatedly. I pushed hard for, national policy to reflect the demands of this moment. I've said from the very beginning that foreign policy, particularly the sanctions that have been placed on Central and South America, has exacerbated the economic turmoil that these countries have had to endure as a result of bad foreign policy. I'm grateful that President Biden has eased those sanctions. It has caused some level of stability around the border, and they have to still do more. And so my work continues as we continue to administer our plan to remove people out of police stations who are sleeping on floors, pregnant women and children, and putting them into a temporary shelter that gives them a little bit more dignity.
Is there any update on the 18 and California agreement that the city recently signed? What would you say to Alderman Julia Ramirez? She claimed for more transparency, and residents have been protesting that they don't want migrants over there.
Well, we continue to have conversations with alders across the city, and my job is to make sure that we are identifying sites that can ultimately help us deal with this crisis. But make no mistake about it, that the plan that we have in place requires the state and the federal government to lean in to provide additional support. Now, my administration has been very clear that without the state and federal government leaning in, providing more financial support for our city, that the sustainability of this operation just becomes that much more arduous.
What about the agreement on the environmental issues over there?
So I'm glad you mentioned the environmental dynamic that I'm dealing with as mayor. It's why I've reinstituted the Department of the Environment. It's why we push for this cumulative impact study. Quite frankly, it's why we've been that much more thorough on these sites to make sure that whatever environmental dynamics that exist there, if it's not suitable, we obviously will have to address that. Unfortunately, environmental justice has not been the prevailing form of leadership in this city for a very long time. My administration has taken this head on, and I'm confident that, during this crisis, as we continue to explore other sites, that if environmental hazards do materialize, then of course it's incumbent upon my administration, as I've committed to do, is to address it.
I have another question. Do you have any information about migrants from Venezuela being deported from Gary, Indiana airport to Venezuela?
I'm not aware of that.
I did find it interesting that Pastor Gordon told us he was on the trip, since we never knew he went on the trip, since we were never given a list of anyone who went on the trip. It's good to hear it now, but it would have been nice to hear it before. But that's my comment, not my question. My question is, there are reports of electricity being installed at the vacant lot at 115th and Halsted today. So why is there no official announcement that a tent city is going to come when you've said you haven't made a decision, but yet there's electricity being put in?
Here's what I've said. Whether it's that particular site or the site on 38th in California,
I gotta agree. If you guys agree with Ricky, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I would even go as far as to say it's beyond the Democratic Party. I would say that there's particular special interest groups that have bought and paid a lot of these politicians. Not even a party, because when it comes to these quote unquote particular special interest groups, these special interest groups buy politicians in a bipartisan way so that they don't get any opposition on certain things that they want to occur. And if you ask me, this is one of the certain things that those particular entities want to occur.
That we have assessed both of those sites, and what needed to happen last week happened, where there was an additional step to make sure that all voices were heard that have had desires for that particular section of the city to be invested in. Now, throughout this entire process, I've had conversations with community members, and the community, particularly in the 21st Ward, wanted to have yet another conversation, and we did that. And we have not made it, we've always made it clear that the whole point of acquiring that land was not just for the economic development that we will see at the end of this crisis, at least this iteration of the crisis.
So now here goes my question. Out of everything that they're doing for the migrants so quickly, are they behind on things that they're supposed to be doing for the citizens of Chicago? And also, have things that the citizens of Chicago are supposed to receive, have many of those things been put on the back burner as a result of the migrant crisis? And now my question is there a time frame that the government is giving the citizens of Chicago to say, well, this is a temporary situation, and once we get this situation resolved, within the 3 to 6 month time frame, we'll be back on track with what we promised you all? Is that happening at all? That's my question for you guys. Anybody in the chat that's from Chicago or Illinois, let me know if any promise or any talk like that has come up.
But the whole impetus behind that particular agreement was so that development would happen there. So I've always been very clear about that particular site, that it will ultimately become a space where the people of the 21st Ward will have an opportunity to grow and develop, but it also will be a site like many other sites that we are assessing to help us deal with this particular crisis.
So when will the tents go in?
So, the process by which these tents are erected, it's actually quite thorough. So, as we continue to, again, not just assess the sites around environmental justice, but, the entire capacity that these sites will ultimately be asked to carry.
So now the thing is that when it comes to, here's my question. If the state of Illinois provides the city of Chicago money, the city of Chicago is going to have more money. What we know right now is that the city of Chicago is overpaying contractors for contracted positions in contract jobs that it's utilizing to deal with the migrants. My question is, what would the plan be for the money? And my other question is if Chicago does get money from the federal government to deal with the migrant crisis, will Chicago taxpayer dollars then be utilized to deal with Chicago taxpayers? Because the migrant crisis shouldn't get both Chicago taxpayer dollars and federal taxpayer dollars. If you ask me, that's double dipping.
It's incumbent upon my administration to be as thorough as possible, and so I'm moving with expediency. Again, the ultimate goal is to remove people out of police stations and get them off the floors of police stations, and of course remove them from outside. So thank you all very much.
Would you ever consider turning the buses around? When the buses arrive here saying, you know what, there's no more room at the end. We do no longer have the capacity to take anyone else. Maybe it's time to turn the buses around.
Look, do we need better immigration policy in this country? Everybody recognizes that. And I've said this repeatedly, that foreign policy and national policy.
So I want you guys to pay very close attention to how Brandon Johnson just refused to answer that very easy to answer question. He just refused to answer it. He just completely bypassed it. You guys notice that? He didn't answer that question at all. The original question was, why don't you turn the buses around? Here's his response.
That these sites will ultimately be asked to carry. It's incumbent upon my administration to be as thorough as possible, and so I'm moving with expediency. Again, the ultimate goal is to remove people out of police stations and get them off the floors of police stations, and of course remove them from outside. So thank you all very much.
Would you ever consider turning the buses around? When the buses arrive here saying, you know what, there's no more room at the end. We do no longer have the capacity.
He should have just answered that question honestly. Mayor Johnson, have you ever just considered turning the buses around? Well, ma'am, I think about turning those buses around every single day. Every night when I go to sleep and when I close my eyes, I see the license plate and the rear bumper of one of those buses. And then I think about Eric Adams being in a jail cell around Christmas, and I see a cell right next to his that says Johnson on it. It says B. Johnson on it. And when I think about that jail cell, and when I think about all of the pain I'm in when I sit down, it reminds me every day that we have to take in as many migrants as we possibly can here in Chicago against the interest of the voters. Do you guys think that that's kind of about how that goes? If you guys think that that's about how that goes, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If you guys don't and I'm wrong, then, you know, give me a thumbs down. And shout out to my man Grind and Motivate working overtime. He working double overtime because he double liked it. And we about to be live on Reacts later on today. So make sure you guys watch this stream all the way through to the end. And when you get to the end and it takes you to the Reacts premiere window, you like it. I'm gonna say it like Grind. You smash that like button. Smash that like.
To take anyone else. Maybe it's time to turn the buses around.
Look, do we need better immigration policy in this country? Everybody recognizes that. And I've said this repeatedly, you know, that foreign policy and national policy has not done its due diligence to meet this particular crisis, but the crisis that existed well beyond this moment. And here's the part that's actually worth reporting, I think, it's my opinion, is that when 30,000 Ukrainians arrived in this city who were seeking refuge here, there was no discussion, none. There are more Ukrainian, just give me a second, all right? There are more Ukrainian.
He said, just give me a second, all right, when literally nobody interrupted him, but whatever.
Refugees here in the city of Chicago than asylum seekers. And no one raised a single question. And you know why? Because they had federal dollars attached to them. What I'm simply saying is that if we're going to have real equity.
Now, that's an interesting piece of information that I didn't know about. I wasn't aware of that. First of all, how many people were aware that 30,000 Ukrainians came to Chicago? I wasn't aware of that. Oh, I got to agree, Cannon. Definitely making an example out of Eric Adams. And Brandon Johnson is such an idiot. He'll be like, hey, Eric, why are you walking like that? You know why I'm walking like this. I used to be a police officer, and this is my first week in Rikers. I'm not going to be able to sit down probably for like 3 or 4 months. Oh, man. That's exactly what's going to happen. Brandon's going to be like, oh, yeah, I better get out there and take in as many of these guys as I can.
The crisis, but the crisis that existed well beyond this moment. And here's the part that's actually worth reporting, I think, it's my opinion, is that when 30,000 Ukrainians arrived in this city who were seeking refuge here, there was no discussion, none. There are more Ukrainian, just give me a second, all right? There are more Ukrainian refugees here in the city of Chicago than asylum seekers. And no one raised a single question. And you know why? Because they had federal dollars attached to them.
I didn't know that they had federal dollars attached to them. But I guarantee you that they were probably very quiet about the Ukrainians coming in, and I guarantee you that there wasn't much noise made about it. Not a lot of city hall meetings. Probably just slid it right in. That's probably why there wasn't very much talk about it. Not because people didn't have opposition to it. I bet you if people had known about it, they would have had a huge issue with that. Because the first thing that people would have said was, well, why didn't that federal money go into being invested into Chicago? Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm simply saying is that if we're going to have real equity and parity in this country, we have to make sure that our policies reflect true equity and that they're consistent. So thank you all very much.
115 all stand at 38%.
What a clown. Meanwhile, Texas is doing something that none of these soy cities like New York City or like Chicago would even think about doing. Okay? Texas is going to vote on a policy that allows migrant arrests for illegal crossings. Now, think about this. We are living in a time where there has to be a Senate vote to allow people to be arrested for crossing illegally. Why is that something that you would have to vote on? Arresting someone crossing illegally requires a vote. No, that requires a Miranda being read and handcuffs. But in the upside down world that we live in, we have to go to the Senate to ask permission to arrest migrants crossing illegally, which is also known as illegal border crossing or illegal immigration, right? Like, this is very pragmatic and logical. This is not rocket science in the least bit. Shout out to Katsy. Everybody give Katsy some throw some hearts in the chat for Katsy. She having some trouble with her computer today. Shout out to Katsy. We appreciate you being here though. And again, Governor Abbott, as much as I don't like Governor Abbott, he's actually, with that Operation Lone Star, one of the only people that's trying to stop people from coming into Texas through the southern border. But you got Biden sending people down there, cutting the barbed wire, and trying to take those floats that Abbott put in out of the water. Make it make sense. Cassie, you sound like you having a case of the Mondays. You having a case of the Mondays? It's Tuesday, though.
There's a controversial border security bill on the table in Texas. Not surprisingly, that state obviously wants to do more to prevent people from crossing the border illegally. Yeah, they've really taken the matter into their own hands. This comes as illegal crossings along the southern border have reached record highs. Xavier Walton joins us live with the details on this new bill. Hey, Xavier.
Hey there, Marky. Good morning. Yeah, this border security bill is considered to be the strongest in Texas history. And naturally, you're going to get both sides, right? You're going to get some criticism. On one hand, people think, hey, this is a way to address the problem at the Texas southern border. On the other hand, people are saying, you know what, this is simply unconstitutional.
How is it unconstitutional when the Constitution is for citizens? I don't understand that. Now, here's my question. Now, look at this. Look at how they got this written here on the news. It says legislation would make crossing border a state crime. No, then look at the subtitle. Texas Senate votes on bill allowing migrant arrest for illegal crossings, not just crossings. If it's a legal crossing, you won't get arrested. If it's an illegal crossing, then you will get arrested. Now, here goes my question. We got 72 people watching. Shout out to everybody that's watching. If you agree with this and you think that this is a good idea for them to do in Texas, give me the thumbs up. If you think that this is a bad idea, if this is somehow unfair, if we have no business doing this, you are not in support of this, then give me a thumbs down. Let me know what you guys think. And also, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not liked the video yet, please take a moment, smash the like button. Also, if you guys have not hit the bell, please make sure you guys hit the bell. Share the stream to your social media. And if you're not a part of the Discord, make sure you guys take a moment and hit that link that's pinned in the chat. How many people in the chat right now are part of the Discord? My question is, would you advise everybody to join the Discord? I'll let the Discord people speak for themselves.
There's a controversial border security bill on the table in Texas. Not surprisingly, that state obviously wants to do more to prevent people from crossing the border illegally. Yeah, they've really taken the matter into their own hands. This comes as illegal crossings along the southern border have reached record highs. Xavier Walton joins us live with the details on this new bill. Hey, Xavier.
Hey there, Marky. Good morning. Yeah, this border security bill is considered to be the strongest in Texas history. And naturally, you're going to get both sides, right? You're going to get some criticism. On one hand, people think, hey, this is a way to address the problem at the Texas southern border. On the other hand, people are saying, you know what, this is simply unconstitutional. We're talking about House Bill 4, and what it does is it allows Texas law enforcement to arrest people trying to enter the Texas-Mexico border illegally. The bill would make it a state crime. That's right, a state crime. Under HB 4, a first-time offender could be convicted of a Class B misdemeanor and be punished up to 6 months behind bars. The penalty would then jump to a felony, punishable by up to 2 years in prison if the person has repeatedly, so over and over again, entered the country illegally. Now, there have been a couple of provisions here, most notably, instead of allowing state police to order migrants back to the country where they came from, the new version now clarifies that migrants must be convicted of the crime first.
saying we're entitled to create a state offense that mirrors the federal offense that says we agree you don't get to come into our state if you enter illegally. We are a country of immigrants. We get that. We're not.
It's interesting how even the conservatives are saying that we're a country of immigrants. Shout out to my man We Lit. If y'all not subscribed to my man We Lit, make sure y'all go and check his channel out. Basically, what this means when they say that we're a country of immigrants is that they're cutting out foundational Black Americans and basically telling us we don't count, we don't contribute, and we're not part of who the Constitution covers. If we are a country of immigrants, what are we then? Let me ask, and I'm gonna ask y'all this question real quick. If y'all miss my man We Lit on Reacts podcast, throw some flames in the chat. Tell him to get back to work.
Convicted of the crime first.
Saying we're entitled to create a state offense that mirrors the federal offense that says we agree you don't get to come into our state if you enter illegally. We are a country of immigrants. We get that. We're not anti-immigration. We're anti-illegal immigration.
Okay, so two sides of every story on this one. There are a number of civil rights groups who believe this is merely just an attack on migrant and border communities in Texas, in the Lone Star State. Some are concerned the bill could lead to officers mistakenly arresting U.S. citizens who live on the border if they don't have citizenship papers handy, which the ACLU says this is dangerous.
We believe that there is a much better way, a much more efficient way to handle this. And the state is just taking a hammer to our communities. And rather than truly understanding that this is a humanitarian emergency with complex solutions and answers, they are responding with just trying to put tens of thousands of people in prison. And this includes everyday Texans and U.S. citizens.
And I'm told HB 4 is going to be on the House floor in just a few hours. It's expected to pass and then go to Governor Greg Abbott's desk. But Marky, here's the thing. With this bill, there are other similar pending legislation in other states, and that's where the concern for those opposing this really gets started. States like Florida, Louisiana, North Carolina, they simply believe that this is really just the beginning.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation.
So now let me ask you guys a question. If an initiative like that passes, do you think that it would make a difference in slowing down migrant influx across the border? Here's my thing. I think that it would, but I don't think that it would create as much of an impact as people think. And the reason why I don't think that it would cause as much of an impact as people think is because they need more Border Patrol staff. If they had more Border Patrol staff and then was able to put something like that into place, I think it would be more effective. I think that they're severely understaffed and overworked at the border. And then there's a lot of corrupt people that work at the border as well. A lot of them corrupt Border Patrol people are just letting anybody in. You know what I'm saying? They taking $5, $10, sliding it across the table. You know what I'm saying? Sliding it up under a board somewhere and just letting them come in. We saw the one video where they were high-fiving the border agents as they came in. You guys remember that? Now, we don't know what the context is behind that situation. We don't know what you know, that could have been somebody that was legal, but we don't know. And I got to agree with Katsy. Katsy says, I'm sorry, I'm just tired of all the excuses for the illegal immigration. Yeah, that's facts. That's big facts. So now, this is a sob story. And this is a sob story from Fox 5. And it says that migrants are facing challenges after arriving in America. Migrants in America. Now, I'm sure it was pretty damn challenging getting through that Darien Gap. So now what challenges could be more challenging than the Darien Gap once you've made it to the promised land? We're going to find out shortly. And shout out to everybody, man. Likes are on point. Definitely appreciate it. Shout out to the like enforcers, man, for keeping them likes on point.
Well, now the ongoing migrant crisis here in the city.
With new restrictions and extremely limited resources, migrants are faced with a harsh reality.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a new member. Make sure you guys throw some flames and some radiation emoji in the chat for my man Tony Taylor, who just became a member. Shout out to him. Make sure you guys show him some love. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat. You guys may as well join Mr. Taylor in becoming a member, because it's probably one of the least expensive things that you will do today. The lowest tier membership is only 99 cents. You get access to all of the membership content, which there's a ton of it now that I started changing up how I do my content. And it helps us to be able to provide more and higher quality content. So shout out to him. Also, we're getting close to 100. We ain't quite there yet. We got 84 on this channel with Tony. So we need 16 more members. If we get 16 more members, we'll be at that 100, and we'll be able to have that 100 member live stream. So if we got 73 people, if we can get 16, you know what I'm saying? That'd be dope. Shout out to Vega. What's good with it, Vega?
Reality that making a life here will not be easy.
Fox 5 Stephanie Bertini has the latest in our series, Migrants in America.
After crossing the southern border illegally, Gabriel Diaz, his wife, and their son made their way to New York City. I knew people here that could help me, he says, referring to others who, like him, are claiming asylum in the United States. Similar to countless others, his motivation was in pursuit of a better life. Now the tough reality is setting in. It's hard because I don't have the papers of permission to work, he says. For now, Diaz lives in a Manhattan hotel, now one of the more than 200 emergency shelters the city is using to house migrants. But life in New York City, even with a roof over your head, is nearly impossible without any money. He's working under the table, he says. For cash. For cash, yes, he says. He gets paid cash to deliver.
So now here goes my question. What's the difference between where he was at and here, if he's still dealing with the same issues? Shout out to Al McCowan. What's good with it, bro? That's my question. Like, so I don't understand. Like, I don't get it.
Food. He works long hours for little money. Under federal law, after filing an asylum claim, migrants must wait 6 months before attempting to work legally. This is very worrisome, says Diaz, as he tries to figure out how to provide for his family long term. It's hard, but it's harder in my country, he says. He left Venezuela, a nation which for years has been plunged.
How many people saw that video that I did about the Venezuelan prison system? If you all saw the video that I did about the Venezuelan prison system, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't see that video, give me a thumbs down. They have existential issues with the prisons in Latin America. They are bad. The prisons in Latin America they have horrendous conditions. Now, the problem is that they don't have much information about any of what's going on at those prisons in Venezuela. As much power as those people in Venezuela in the prisons have over the prisons, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those individuals were the people coming here. I don't know what you guys know, the people that haven't seen that video that I did about the prisons in Venezuela. They have a damn zoo inside of their prison that the prisoners made. They have a damn nightclub inside of their prison that the prisoners made. They have a damn casino inside of their prison that the prisoners made. It's completely out of control down there. El Salvador has a super prison that has room for about 40,000 prisoners, and I think it currently houses 20,000. People are escaping from those institutions all the time. What happens to them when they escape is the question.
A political, economic, and humanitarian crisis. He says poverty and danger forced his family to run away. Asylum seekers in the United States fear persecution due to things like politics, religion, and race, for example. The city says resources are at capacity. To date, around 140,000 migrants and asylum seekers have come to New York City since last spring, looking for shelter while they wait for their immigration cases to...
Exactly, Christopher. Here goes my question. What's the average cost of living in Manhattan? Christopher says he is living in a Manhattan motel for free. I don't feel sorry for him. Facts. Manhattan is one of the most expensive places in the United States to be. Anywhere in New York City is. And then in California, on the West Coast, San Francisco, San Diego.
To be finalized. In a recent statement to Fox 5 News, a spokesperson for the mayor said,
Ladies and gentlemen, we got another new member. Now we only need 15. Shout out to Lavanya Frank for becoming a member. Make sure you guys throw some radiation emoji in the chat. Show her some love. We are getting there. We are getting there. We are getting there. All we need is 15 more.
Time again, Mayor Adams has warned that we are past our breaking point. We have run out of space to accommodate migrants without limits. Now, the city is doing what it can to funnel migrants out of the emergency shelter system, recently establishing a ticketing center to get those willing to leave a plane ticket and imposing limits on shelter stays. It's current.
So, shout out to Brooklyn Queen. Brooklyn Queen said studios go for $2,000 to $3,000 grand and up. Studio apartments, which is about the size of a hotel motel room. They're saving $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and there's people there in New York City working every day and can barely pay their rent.
A 60-day limit for families. Diaz sees the writing on the wall. A lot of people in the streets are like me. They don't have a way, he says. For Diaz, thinking about the future is becoming increasingly stressful. I never wanted to leave my country. Never, he says, fighting back tears. I miss my family a lot.
All of these people who leave and come to the United States, none of them wanted to leave their country, but they didn't want to leave their country so bad that they wound up here. I don't understand.
He says, his words offering a window into the emotional burden migrants may carry. Proof that the reality of trying to settle in America after crossing the border illegally is tough for various reasons. Everything we went through to come here, and here it's difficult and a bit complicated, he says. Stephanie Bertini, Fox 5 News.
Yeah. It's a bit complicated, and it's not as easy as everybody thinks. You can just ask us lazy Americans that have been here, and our families have been here forever. It's ridiculous. So, how many people heard about the Floyd Bennett Field migrant site in New York City? Believe it or not, migrants have come to this Floyd Bennett Field migrant site in New York City. They arrived there, and upon arriving, they were so turned off by the area that they left.
Floyd Bennett's a large place. It's like they built a little city in the middle of a national park. This is a very remote site, and it's a very harsh site. Like, we're right on the water. There's nothing around here to block any of the wind. This is going to be a very harsh environment for these people to deal with in a tent. Yesterday, the first bus that came here, it was a city bus, just like the one over my shoulder here. It pulled in, and they just sat there. They sat there for 20 minutes. And I could see there was a lot of conversation going on. There was several members of the staff here were getting on the bus, talking to the families on the bus in Spanish. And then finally, somebody made a decision to get off the bus. And this woman got off the bus with her children and just started walking for the front gate. She walked right past the open doors to the tent and took with her the rest of the crowd. So I stood there for a minute or two, kind of in disbelief, just filming what was going on. And they had pulled buses, these white buses, across the entrance so that the other media couldn't film what was going on. So then I ran around the front to see if I could get a chance to talk to some of these people who'd come out the front gate to this bus that was waiting right here. According to the staff members I've spoken to this morning, this is the bus that will take them wherever they want to go. I mean, once you're here, there really is no train on this runway. The migrants who were getting off that bus did not trust the site because they got off and they walked right past showers and bathrooms and all this stuff. I mean, you could see them.
So, like, that's wild, man. They just went there and then left. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you show my man Win Loser Rug some love with the $20 super chat. My man Win Loser Rug said, cheers to the growth of the BLR brand. Big facts. We getting there. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all, and it's because of you guys. You guys are the reason for all of the growth and all of the success that my channels have had. And also my affiliate channels where I work with other people like Reacts and Just Talking with TD and Rob and Reality Check Virtual Radio, Blacklight Revelations. So shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying? We definitely appreciate it.
And then when they got outside the gate right behind me, there's a dumpster. One of the dads went running off behind the dumpster to take a leak because I guess he'd been trapped on that bus for so long. They didn't trust the facilities here. I asked, like, you know, what's wrong? Like, why aren't you staying here? And
oh man, look at, wait a minute. Let me make sure I got the count right. 14, I think. Shout out to Chanel. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Chanel was a member before. So she's a return member. So I believe. So shout out to Chanel. Make sure you guys throw some radiation emoji in the chat, some flames for her and Win Lose a Rug. You guys are killing it today. Definitely appreciate it.
And in Spanish, one woman said they didn't tell us where we were going. I'm not staying here. This is no good. I'm not staying here. Another man said this is.
So now it's wild, man. I want y'all to see this. They're being picky. They're not staying here. They're not gonna just stay anywhere now.
Another man said, this is ridiculous. I work in the Bronx. My children are enrolled in schools in the Bronx. How are we supposed to get to the Bronx from here? They didn't tell us we were coming here. They just told us they were bringing us to another shelter. So they were all singing pretty much the same story of the reason why they were not staying. They were leaving because they were scared, because no one told them they were coming here, that this place was too remote, that, you know, they had ties to other boroughs. We waited another couple of hours and another bus did come. Another bus full of migrants did come. And most of them stayed. Well, there was like 30-something people on the bus. After reaching out to City Hall, what we found out was that after these migrants were reassigned to this shelter, after their shelter assignments had expired, they were being sent here. And for those who were assigned here and decided that they didn't want to stay here, it gets a little trickier. I think they have to reapply, and I don't know exactly how it's working. I don't think they know exactly how it's going to work from here, but that's like the latest wrinkle is basically there's.
So like this stuff is completely unorganized. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have any of this stuff with a plan at all. Now, here goes my question. What happens when more migrants start refusing the shelters that they get taken to? How does that work then? Because if this starts to happen and this becomes an ongoing thing, they're going to, and they see that they're able to continue with these demands, the demands are going to get greater and greater and greater and greater. Then you're going to have empty facilities that the migrants will refuse to use and crowded higher quality facilities, and the problem will continue. Shout out to AB Promotions. AB Promotions said Floyd Bennett is in between Brooklyn and Far Rockaway. Nothing is there. And you can see that from this video here. So it's like a big open area.
Sending migrants to this site, which can hold 2,000. Right now, there's like less than 100 in there. So officially, as it stands right now, the total number of migrants coming to New York City applying for shelter is 139,000. Currently in the shelter system, it's like 65,000, I think. Spoke to a few of them on the other side.
So now here goes my question, and shout out maybe some of the people in the chat who are from New York City can give us a little bit of insight on this. With all, and this is the same question that I asked about Chicago. With all of these migrants flowing into the city, what's going on with the existing homeless population there? Because the homeless people and the migrants are probably utilizing or sharing the same resources, and most likely the migrants are being prioritized over the homeless people. So what's going on with the homeless people? They didn't just disappear, so where are they? What's going on with them?
The side who were coming out to take a walk around, and I can tell you right now, they were like wide-eyed, bewildered. They had no idea where the hell they were. As of right now, tons of capacity, not that many people.
All right, so there's that. Oh, look at this.
As its shelter system is about to overflow, the city is now offering migrants a free one-way ticket to anywhere in the world, as long as it takes them out of New York.
And this is where people can get those tickets.
Now this comes as the city says it's
that's wild, man. They're in New York City. They're flying these migrants out of town. Oh wow, yeah, they just this video just got posted an hour ago. Wow, you guys want to check that video out or not? If you guys want to watch that video, give me a thumbs up. If y'all don't, give me a thumbs down. In the meanwhile, while you guys are voting on that, there's another video, and this video is from Fox New York 5. And this dives more deeply into that situation of the family's refusal of the Brooklyn shelter. Now, how do you all feel about the Brooklyn shelters? Lavanya says that the homeless people are getting arrested in New York. And what's interesting about it is that same police force can't touch the migrants because of the sanctuary status.
Opening of the new migrant shelter at Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn did not go as smoothly as some officials had hoped.
Several migrant families that were bused to the facility refused to stay there. They got right back on the bus. Briella Tomasetti at Floyd Bennett Field. What's going on? How is this possible?
Yeah, it is possible, Rosanna and Dan. Clearly, the situation is not ideal here. It's a transit desert. It is far from everything. It's not close to where parents have to take their kids to school. The bathrooms, the showers are outside. A long list of concerns. I could go on and on. But 23 families with children were expected to arrive here yesterday. Not all of them obviously stayed. A spokesperson for the mayor's office telling the New York Post that while some migrants did reject the site, another bus load of asylum seekers arrived at around 2:30 yesterday afternoon, and they did opt to stay. Less than an hour after the first batch of migrants arrived at Brooklyn's Floyd Bennett Field, families boarded the bus that took them there and went back to the Roosevelt Hotel Intake Center. City Council member Joanne Ariola, who represents neighborhoods in Queens, posted on the social media platform X that migrants refused to stay for various reasons, such as location, conditions, and the proximity of the schools where their children are registered. State Assembly member Jamie Williams.
So now, let me ask you all this. If they knew that this was a bad site, why did they waste? Like, if they knew that this was a bad site, why would they waste taxpayer money with sending people here if they knew that people probably wouldn't stay there because of the conditions? Like, it to me, it just seems like bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision is being made, and none of these politicians are doing anything whatsoever to try to make even better decisions with the cards that they're dealt, which a lot of the cards that they're dealt are cards that they handed themselves. Let's make no mistake of that. A lot of these are cards that they handed themselves. But even within the confines of their own cards that they've dealt themselves, they're still making horrible decisions. Why? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to my man John Guillory on the green team, member for 6 months. Welcome all the new members to the BLR family. Big facts. Make sure you guys show John Guillory some love. Throw some radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys got a milestone chat available, make sure y'all throw it into the chat so everybody can thank you for helping the channel be as good as it is. Got another one. And another one, shout out to my man Hurricane IQ for the 3 months membership. Make sure you guys throw some radiation emoji in the chat and show some love, because you guys have no idea how important the members are to the BLR network. They are the lifeblood. So make sure you guys show some love.
Was on site and echoed those concerns.
It's a very isolated area. When you came in, you have to come all around. So it's not a place where you put women and children. And then the facilities is just not, friendly, especially in the middle of the night if a child or an adult have to get up to go outside of the tent to use that bathroom.
Floyd Bennett Field was first proposed as a shelter site months ago. The former airfield space is owned by the federal government, but Governor Hochul is footing the $20 million bill. The makeshift shelter has enough room to house 2,000 people, but the proposal was immediately met with intense pushback due to its inconvenient location, lack of mass transit, susceptibility to flooding, and more. Fox 5 toured the site last month. There are 4 dormitories, a tent for registration and for people to connect with caseworkers. Another tent will be used as a cafeteria, but communal bathrooms and showers are set up outside.
This is not, the best conditions, but we're managing crises. And can I say anything?
Hey, when Eric Adams said this isn't the best conditions, is he talking about the conditions of his career right now, or is he talking about this migrant shelter?
Meanwhile, Mayor Adams toured the site last night, doubling down on his calls for more federal assistance. The mayor's office sent out a statement saying, in part, with more than 65,600 migrants currently in our care and thousands more continuing to arrive every week, we have used every possible corner of New York City and are quite simply out of good options to shelter migrants. No municipality should be left to manage a national crisis.
So now here goes my question. It says that they're out of room. They don't have any more places. to shelter migrants. Now, my question is if they're out of room, even if the federal government gives them a ton of money, what are they going to do with that money if they don't have the capacity, if they don't have the room to shelter any of these people? How is the money going to help if they don't have the room? They're not going to be able to do anything with the money. Shout out to Sybil. What's good with it, Sybil?
Is almost entirely on its own. It's not fair to New Yorkers, and it's not fair to asylum seekers. The city has set up more than 200 emergency shelters since the crisis began, and 2 large-scale relief centers, one outside the Creedmoor Psychiatric Center in Queens and another on Randall's Island.
The big problem is the situation that New York City is in. And so, again, it's not like this is needed because we don't have any else. If we have some other places, I'd love for people to let us know where they are.
The Legal Aid Society toured this site a few weeks ago and wrote a long list of concerns to the city about why it is not suitable for families with children. Representatives were back here again yesterday. They are doubling down on their calls for the city to pull out of this plan. But the question remains, with people already moving in, is that even possible at this point? For now, we're live at Floyd Bennett Fields. Dan, Rosanna, back to you.
So, Briella, before you go, I heard those people who refused to stay at Floyd Bennett now are on their own.
Well, there was actually a person who was working here and coordinating the people getting on and off the buses, Rosanna. He told our reporter who was here yesterday that they were going to the Roosevelt Hotel, which is the intake center. So it's unclear really what the deal is here, if they're going there, if they're going somewhere else, if they're getting on a bus and they're on their own at this point. The city has really not given us too many answers as to what's going on, so not so concrete.
It's amazing how nobody knows anything. It's amazing how when it comes to this migrant crisis, how unorganized it is. Like, this is truly bizarre. So now I had another article from Fox about the issue going on at Fred Bennett Field, but I think we got enough of that. I don't think we need to hear too much more of that. However, they do have a little video clip here of Eric Adams. Let's see. We'll see what Eric Adams is talking about real quick. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, while I'm trying to get this video together, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, please take a moment. Make sure you guys smash the like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, make sure you guys hit that bell and share the stream to your social media. Hold on one second. Let me see. All right, here we go. Let me see. All right. All right. There we go.
You got these deep blue sanctuary cities sounding the alarm over school classrooms packed with migrant children and neighborhood sidewalks filled to the brim with migrant families and zero help coming from the White House.
And in Texas, the governor there says he is ready to appeal a judge's decision that he says will make securing the border even more difficult.
Big challenge here. Complete coverage begins. Florida Republican Congressman Michael Waltz joins us in a moment.
But first, to our team of reporters to kick off the hour. Garrett Tenney is live on the ground in Chicago for us. Brian Yanis starts us off live here in New York City. Brian, today's the first day of school here. How is everybody handling this influx of migrants?
Sandra, good afternoon. It's what everyone is thinking about. Some 21,000 non-English speaking migrant children starting school for the first time in New York City. The chancellor of the school system here chided the press, saying, look, there is no chaos and anarchy. We have it under control. But last night, his boss, Mayor Eric Adams, he painted a much more dire picture of the impact the migrant crisis is having on this city.
Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this.
Now, you guys heard how he said that he doesn't see an ending to this, right? A new report just came out that we're going to be looking at. Now, here's my question for you guys. If Mayor Eric Adams is correct and he doesn't see an ending to this and there's not an ending in sight, my question for you guys is, when we go over how much this particular situation costs, what happens if that costs continues to incur into the future? That's my question.
I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
Mayor Adams also said this was a national crisis, and he attacked the Biden administration for not providing the city any support. But hours before that town hall, he laid blame on Republicans, particularly Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
We turned this city around in 20 months. And then what happened? Started with a madman down in Texas, decided he wanted to bus people up to New York City.
Critics say the issue is President Biden's border policies. More than 110,000 illegal immigrants have arrived in New York City since April of last year. But according to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, about 13,000, or just 12% of that total, were bused by his administration to New York City. The city says it's receiving on average 10,000 new illegal migrants a month, including more than 2,700 last week alone. Residents don't want any more shelters open up in their neighborhoods. But Sandra, Mayor Adams insists.
So now here's my question. Is that number going to increase or is it going to decrease moving forward? What do you guys think? Is it going to increase or is it going to decrease? And now if it increases, what that means is that the amount of money that it's going to cost the cities per migrant is going to increase. And if that number continues to increase, what's going to happen?
That the city will continue to take in more migrants. He says it is the right and compassionate thing to do, while at the same time admitting that this crisis could very well destroy this city. Sandra?
And Brian, it's a reality for those who live here. It's a big reality for those who come in and work here. We see it every day, and it's a problem that's only getting worse. Brian, thank you.
So yeah, so here's them talking about it's only getting worse, right? News Nation put out a report 19 hours ago, and what it says is that moving into the winter, major cities are bracing for the migrant crisis to worsen. Now, that's going to create a really bad situation. And the reason why I feel that, and I got to agree, Torian, if you guys agree with Torian, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. If it's going to get worse going into the winter, people are going to be they're going to have dire behaviors. It's going to be freezing cold. People are going to be in the middle of the street. They're going to be wilding out. People are going to be fighting, trying to get into these shelters and anywhere where it's warm. It's going to be madness. This is going to be wild, man. Major cities brace for migrant crisis to worsen headed into the winter. Now, I also think that one thing that the politicians are going to do is they're going to try to play off of the dire situations that the winter will cause. And they're going to try to use the winter to fearmonger people into supporting and voting the way that they want them to. And my advice to people is to hold strong. Don't change how you feel because you see a situation changing outside as a result of the weather. Remember, you're looking into this situation long term. The politicians and these businesses are experts at weaponizing crisis. So despite the fact that something looks more chaotic, stay organized, continue to keep your thoughts organized, and maintain sight of the goal ahead. You know what I'm saying? They're going to try to utilize the winter coming up to give sob stories and fear porn. Don't let it shake you. You know what I'm saying? But let's see what they're talking about.
Well, some of America's biggest cities now facing a dueling crisis as temperatures start dropping. In New York City, the problems involving migrants and homelessness could get much worse. Mayor Eric Adams says he's running.
Hey, News Nation loves taking those pictures of those African migrants. Don't they? Shout out to John Guillory. John says, so it's compassionate to take care of migrants who are not citizens, and watching your own citizens barely be able to pay for rent and live on the street is compassionate as well. Facts. And I got an All Money Ain't Good Money coming up, and it talks about these statistics of, the younger generation of people that are not able to afford to move out of the house and live at home with their parents. And the majority of young people can't afford to get out of their parents' house. See, it just got worse. My generation, right? We can barely afford houses. Most of us are living in apartments. We haven't bought a house. The generation after us, after my generation, that generation is now not even able to afford to get out of their parents' house. So as these people are coming here prospering, it's getting worse here for Americans, especially Black Americans.
Involving migrants and homelessness could get much worse. Mayor Eric Adams says he's running out of federal aid, which could force thousands out of shelters and then onto the streets. It's a similar situation in Chicago, as well as other cities, which have struggled to house the growing population of asylum seekers ahead of the cold winter months. Correspondent Laura Ingle is live in New York City. And Laura, how are these cities handling these potential surges in homelessness?
Hey, Nicole. Well, it's really turned to be quite a challenge, and that is really putting it mildly, from New York City to Chicago to Denver. All of these places that are facing this dual crisis, as you mentioned, many people predicting that this challenge and competition of trying to get these people housed to stay warm, to find a bed, is only going to get worse as we start getting colder and colder. It was really cold here this weekend in New York City, and as many look at the calendar, they know it's only going to get worse, as also these budgets are stretched to the limit. And that is what is happening here in New York City. It's bursting at the seams when it comes to housing both of these groups. And according to the city's own numbers, about 118,000 people are staying in city shelters, and over 64,000 of them are migrants. And just to compare that for you, in January of last year, the total number in city shelters was just over.
So now here goes my question. What would make these numbers go down? And I got to agree with Chris. It takes time to build credit and save money to buy a house. Yeah, facts. Super facts.
60,000 people. So New York City Council members are now reportedly questioning New York City Mayor Eric Adams' administration about a recent report which shows a decline in everything regarding housing these two groups, from the time it takes to reoccupy a vacant New York City Housing Authority apartment to how long it takes to cut through red tape. Over in Chicago, where you are, there are reports that some asylum seekers who made it to the Windy City have now turned around after experiencing a recent cold front and lack of jobs, realizing what the months ahead will bring, and are said to be going back to the border or warmer cities. As many as 2,800 migrants are still awaiting shelter placement after the city's existence.
Now, I'm not trying to, be funny as usual, but a lot of the places where a lot of these migrants came from have way better weather than New York City or Chicago. Like, New York City and Chicago have some of the worst weather in the United States. I'm just saying.
Shelter network has maxed out. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson announcing a few weeks ago that the city plans to deploy warming buses at designated locations and will work with external partners and volunteers to pull together blankets, coats, and other necessities to help keep the homeless and incoming migrants warm while the city works on plans to move new arrivals indoors. And as New York...
Can I ask why Brandon Johnson always looks like a deer in the headlights? Like, he looks like he should have antlers and be staring at an oncoming car at all times. Shout out to Eddie Longs. What's good with it, bro? Why is that? Is it just me? Am I being mean, or does Brandon Johnson actually look like that? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 80 people watching and we got 90 likes. We only need 10 to get to 100. Everybody, please take a moment, smash that like button, hit that bell, share the stream. And if you're not part of the Discord, hit that link that is in the comment section. We almost at that 100, so let's get it. We can get there. But I want to know about Brandon Johnson looking like a deer in the headlight, though. Do he? I mean, for real. For real. Shout out to my man, We Lit, the originator of the phrase. That's crazy work. Look at his face. His face is crazy work. You know what I'm saying?
City struggles with its right to shelter guarantee, which is what is in place here. It's why so many migrants and homeless do come here. You know, the city is working to see exactly what they can do. They are just flat out running out of places. The hotel you see here behind me, we're at the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. A lot of people call this the Ellis Island of New York City, which is reaching its brink as well. So many people are scrambling. The city leaders are scrambling to find solutions before we get into that real frigid temperature drop. Back to you.
All right, Laura Ingle live for us in New York. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
I'll tell you what, a nice tropical vacation south of the border would probably do somebody, a lot of good if you're freezing in Chicago or if you're freezing in New York. That's where spring break destinations are where a lot of people are coming from. Spring break destinations might be great for a winter break if you're a migrant. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure travel plans are available. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? This is the cost that we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. Migrant crisis has cost, and shout out to New York Post for their wonderful editors. Migrant crisis has U.S. taxpayers on the hook for up to $451 billion. House GOP report says $451 billion is how much the migrant crisis has cost U.S. taxpayers as of right now, according to this House GOP report. That's a lot of money. Let me ask everybody in the comment section this question. Did you vote for the politician that you voted for to spend $451 billion on something that you will never be able to benefit from? Americans could pay up to $451 billion to care for migrants who entered the U.S. illegally, but have been released into the country or escaped from custody, according to a new report due out Monday from House Republicans and obtained exclusively by the Post. So my question, of course, the same question that we always ask, how many people heard about that? If you guys heard about that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't hear about that, give me a thumbs down. And real quick, shout out to the 8th stream sponsor, my man DeAndre. Shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre says, just something for the channel. Keep doing you, Rob. Embrace villainy. Facts. If you have embraced villainy, y'all already know what to do. And also make sure you guys show DeAndre some love. Y'all know what to do with that as well. Every day, millions of American taxpayer dollars are spent on costs directly associated with illegal immigration and the unprecedented crisis at the southwest border, sparked by Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' policies. The House Homeland Security Committee interim staff report states, only a small fraction is ever recouped from the taxes paid by illegal aliens, with the rest falling on the shoulders of American citizens and lawful residents, it adds. Compiled from federal and state records, media reports, and other public information, the 50-page document outlines taxpayer costs incurred in medical care, housing, education, and other welfare benefits for tens of millions of migrants, to say nothing of the additional costs for law enforcement. And see, that's what I was telling you guys about the law enforcement aspect. I think that a lot of those initiatives that Greg Abbott wants to put into place would be more effective if they had adequate Border Patrol agents, and I don't think that they do. I don't think that they have adequate Border Patrol agents. Okay. So now here it says the bill for the government care and housing could total as much as $451 billion per year nationwide for apprehended migrants known as gotaways who have entered the U.S. since 2021, according to figures the House panel cites from the Center for Immigration Studies. Between 16.8 million and 29 million illegal immigrants currently reside in the U.S., according to estimates the committee cites from the Conservative Federation for American Immigration Reform and Yale University, 3.8 million of which have entered since President Biden took office in January of 2021. Now, let me ask you guys this. If President Biden is asked about this figure, what do you all think that his response will be? What will President Biden's response be to this astronomical figure? Mayorkas revealed during a Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee hearing last month that more than 600,000 migrants have come into the country in fiscal year 2023 without being apprehended by border agents. So now here's my question. What does that mean? What that means is that there's 600,000 migrants in the United States who have not been vetted. Yeah, I gotta agree. If you guys agree with FBA Bro Reese, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. FBA Bro Reese says $9K per head for a family of 4 is $36,000 per month. Sounds like reparations to me. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. That's in addition to another 900,000 who entered the U.S. legally and applied for asylum before being released, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection data. Biden asked Congress last month to pass $14 billion in additional border security funding to aid the processing of migrants, reimburse state and local governments and non-governmental organizations, and provide other services. Republican committee members added that FAIR also found in a comprehensive study this year that federal, state, and local costs of illegal immigration amount to around $182 billion annually, with aliens defraying just $31 billion of that cost in tax revenue. This is costing taxpayers a lot of money. Shout out to Shabazz American Freeman. What's good with it, bro? This is costing taxpayers a lot of money. According to FAIR's report, state governments are paying $115 billion of that total, while the federal government chips in just $66 billion. By comparison, the group found in a 2017 study that the top line cost for illegal immigration into the United States was $135 billion. Mind you, these people are already not paying taxes, and taxpayers have to pay these additional billions of dollars in taxpayer funds. You know what I'm saying? The Biden administration has barred migrants from most federal health programs, while states such as California or Illinois and cities like New York have seen their benefit programs stretched to the breaking point. Mayor Eric Adams said in August that total migrant costs could soar up to $12 billion of the next 3 years as Gotham grapples with feeding, housing, educating, and even doing laundry for an influx of hundreds of thousands from the southern border. So they're even doing these people's laundry. How many people heard about the laundry programs? I didn't hear about the laundry programs. I didn't know that they was getting their drawers washed. Hospital and emergency room visits rank as among the highest costs incurred by illegal immigrants, a fact substantiated by testimony from medical experts. Migrants often require 3 times the amount of human resources to resolve their cases and provide them with safe discharge. Dr. Robert Trenchell, Chief Executive Officer of Yuma Regional Medical Hospital in Arizona, told the committee in February. Some migrants come to us with minor ailments, but many of them come in with significant disease. We have had migrant patients on dialysis, cardiac catheterization, and in need of heart surgery. Many are very sick. They have long-term complications of chronic disease that have not been cared for. So now they come. What about, oh man, how much do we have to pay in healthcare, health insurance? When is the last time any of you guys ever took a look at your health insurance bill or a doctor's bill? Yuma County Supervisor Jonathan Lyons also told the committee in September that the influx has forced U.S. citizens to travel miles away from their home to receive medical care. So now you're paying more in gas money and you're not going to your usual healthcare providers that you usually go to as a result of being crowded out. The government and taxpayers are footing the bill People who pay for private insurance, who can barely afford an emergency room visit, are paying the cost of these people who are coming from these other places illegally, who are coming here barely alive themselves, to go to the hospital and get care for free. Make it make sense. Look, AB Promotion said, do go to an out of network doctor. These people was they traveling to an out of network country. So now here it says, we have seen women approaching the border in labor. I've witnessed that multiple times, to the point where our emergency room and our maternity ward was overrun, he said. I had several people tell me they had to travel to San Diego or to Phoenix to deliver their baby, or to have regular surgery that has been scheduled that had been put off. Education costs for at least 3.8 million illegal aliens who have limited proficiency in English totaled $59 billion. $59 billion. Other data from the National Institute of Corrections and the Justice Department show state police expenditures on illegal immigration-related matters have jumped from $10.5 billion in 2017 to $19 billion currently. Monday's report also noted that the $1.5 trillion economic cost of the opioid crisis, so that's something else that we haven't talked about in a long time, but we'll definitely get there. Now, shout out to Torian if he's still in the comment section. You see this? The opioid crisis costs $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion. According to Congress Joint Economic Committee, a sum driven largely by fentanyl imported from Mexican cartels. From thousands of dollars in property damage caused by illegal aliens evading apprehension and millions of dollars for education to billions of dollars for healthcare and luxury housing for aliens, Biden and Mayorkas' refusal to enforce our nation's laws is running up the tab, and American taxpayers are the ones on the hook, Green said. It is long past time for this administration to end the reckless, lawless, open border policies that are bankrupting communities across this country. Can't argue with it. I can't argue with it. Now, one thing that people should take away from this is that if these figures are accurate, just in immigration, the Biden administration cost U.S. taxpayers $451 billion. That doesn't even account for the economy. Because remember, the economy, the consumer price index at earlier in this year was at a 40-year high. The consumer price index was at a 40-year high, which means that not only have we been having to pay all this money in taxes, but we've also been suffering because of inflation. So now, with the tax dollars that we're spending only on the migrant crisis, and with the volatility of the economy, my question is, who can afford another Biden presidency?
Thank you. Breaking news this morning. Multiple agencies responding to a capsized vessel right near Sunny Isles Beach.
And we have Local 10's Trent Kelly joining us live at the scene with what we've learned so far. Trent.
Yeah, Eric and JC, we're learning that.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to FBA Bro Reese. That's facts. That doesn't include the Ukraine. That doesn't include Israel. Another thing that it doesn't include is all of that money that they gave those immigrants from Afghanistan that came in. It's been a lot of money put out.
That boat came ashore here right behind one of the high-rise buildings here in Sunny Isles Beach just before 2 o'clock this morning. And according to at least one source, we're told more than a dozen migrants were suspected of being on board. Pictures taken.
Now, how many people heard about this? This was in Florida, Sunny Isles Beach. Some random boat just showed up, and allegedly it had about a dozen migrants on it.
Thank you. Breaking news this morning. Multiple agencies responding to a capsized vessel right near Sunny Isles Beach.
And we have Local 10's Trent Kelly joining us live at the scene with what we've learned so far. Trent.
Yeah, Eric and JC, we're learning that boat came ashore here right behind one of the high-rise buildings here in Sunny Isles Beach just before 2 o'clock this morning. And according to at least one source, we're told more than a dozen migrants were suspected of being on board. Pictures taken from overnight show us exactly what the scene looked like this morning. That small boat coming ashore right behind the Turnberry Ocean Colony condo building on Collins Avenue. According to Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, their crews responded to that area after getting a call about an overturned boat there. When crews arrived, they they treated 3 people on scene, with one of those 3 having to be.
This is right. This is down in South Beach. I know exactly where this is. At one point, I was laid out on the beach just like this, but it wasn't under those circumstances.
3 having to be airlifted to Aventura Hospital for treatment. Firefighters not disclosing the extent of their injuries or how they believe they ended up in the water. But according to sources, we're told those 3 patients were part of a larger migrant group that came ashore in that vessel earlier this morning. Our source not able to provide any hard numbers at
so that's the little boat, like Lil Yachty, that they tried to come to the United States in. Man, they lucky as hell that's all that happened. They lucky as hell. Look at that little boat. I don't know if anybody has ever been to Miami Beach, but when those storms blow up, man, this boat will get thrown around like a little matchbox.
This time, only telling us more than a dozen suspected migrants were on board, and that officials are now investigating this as a possible human smuggling operation. So that last piece of video that you're looking at right now is what that boat looked like just about 30 minutes ago before sunrise. You can see most of the police activity there, and the migrants that were in the sand earlier have now left. The scene pretty much clear, except for that small boat, which again, as of just about 30 minutes ago, was still.
I'm telling y'all right now, man, if my channel ever gets big enough, y'all gonna be seeing the South Beach background in my live stream. I'm telling you, man, because I'm going straight to Florida and I ain't coming back.
Sitting there on the shore waiting to be towed away. So again, according to what we're learning, 3 people treated on scene, including 1 who had to be transported to Aventura Hospital for treatment. This, according to sources, part of a larger migrant group that is now being investigated as a possible smuggling operation. We'll keep you updated on any additional information we learn of. For now, that is the latest live from Sunny Isles Beach this morning. I'm Trent Kelly, Local 10.
So when I had first heard about that story, they weren't sure what was going on with the people on that boat. They didn't know whether they were migrants or not. Apparently they are. So now, I don't know if anybody heard, but Marco Rubio has actually, and shout out to Eddie, we got 100 likes. Make sure you guys show yourself some love, man. Shout out to y'all for getting us to that 100 likes. We got that 100 likes that we needed. That's what's good. Smash that like button. Let's get over 100. Appreciate y'all. Let's see what we got here. We're gonna check out what Marco Rubio is talking about here. He said that there's some interesting things going on with the quote unquote behavior of the Cuban migrants. So let's see what's going on here, shall we?
If you are fleeing persecution, how can it be that a year later you are spending summers in Cuba?
Senator Marco Rubio, who is Cuban American, causing an uproar here in South Florida. Rubio was questioning the Secretary of Homeland Security about Cuban asylum policies.
CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor joins us from Miami International Airport to explain.
Some Cubans do agree with Senator Marco Rubio. Now, the key is the word refugee. An immigration attorney tells us that there is a big difference when it comes to Cubans.
You come from Cuba, you are presumed to be fleeing political persecution. So you automatically are eligible for refugee cash. You're eligible for food stamps.
Senator Marco Rubio has ignited a debate.
Within a year, pending your parole.
Did you guys know that? That's interesting what he just said. How many of y'all knew that? If y'all knew that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't know that, give me a thumbs down. If you're an asylum seeker, you're automatically eligible for food stamps. Wasn't aware of that.
For fleeing political persecution. So you automatically are eligible for refugee cash. You're eligible for food stamps.
What is refugee cash? How many people have ever heard of refugee cash? Now, mind you, we're hearing Marco Rubio say this. Dude is a senator, so he should know that. He should know what he's talking about. Refugee cash and food stamps. So basically cash assistance and food stamps, the hardworking people.
If you are fleeing persecution, how can it be that a year later you are spending summers in Cuba?
Senator Marco Rubio, who is Cuban American, causing an uproar here in South Florida. Rubio was questioning the Secretary of Homeland Security about Cuban asylum policies.
CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor joins us from Miami International Airport to explain.
Some Cubans do agree with Senator Marco Rubio. Now, the key is the word refugee. An immigration attorney tells us that there is a big difference when it comes to Cubans.
You come from Cuba, you are presumed to be for fleeing political persecution. So you automatically are eligible for refugee cash. You're eligible for food stamps.
Senator Marco Rubio has ignited a debate.
Within a year, depending if you're paroled, you can apply for a green card. And then you can travel back to Cuba as often as you want. Some people go back to Cuba for 3 months at a time. They've been here a year.
I agree to an extent with him, said Alexis Acosta, who arrived Monday night from Havana. He has lived in the U.S. for 26 years. He went to visit his octogenarian parents in Cuba.
Cubans are not refugees.
Willie Allen is a Cuban-American immigration attorney in South Florida. He told us some migrants, including Cubans, get aid in the state of Florida because of an act approved in the 1980s.
So this is interesting. How many people knew about this act approved in the 1980s where Cubans get benefits? If you guys knew about this, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't, give me a thumbs down.
Every Cuban and every Haitian that has been paroled into the United States could receive in Florida food stamps, welfare, and some cash assistance.
Allen said,
Cubans and Haitians. Now, how come nobody ever says anything about this? How come nobody ever says anything about this?
Every Cuban and every Haitian that has been paroled into the United States could receive in Florida food stamps, welfare, and some cash assistance.
You could get food stamps and cash assistance.
He told us some migrants, including Cubans, get aid in the state of Florida because of an act approved in the 1980s.
Every Cuban and every Haitian that has been paroled into the United States could receive in Florida food stamps, welfare, and some cash assistance.
Allen said the issue brings into focus the Cuban Adjustment Act, which provides an expedited route for Cuban citizens to request permanent residence in the U.S. after 1 year and 1 month, as addressed by Senator Rubio.
If you came as a Cuban, asked for asylum, withdrew the asylum, and became a resident through the Cuban Adjustment Act, you have no restrictions to travel back to Cuba.
Now, in order to be covered by the Cuban Adjustment Act, the person has to enter the U.S. legally. Those who do it through rafts or the southern border do not qualify for the benefit. I do think if they are fleeing repression from Cuba, they should not go back at all, said Yusdrivia Rodriguez, waiting for a loved one coming from Havana at Miami's International Airport. Now, we did reach out to the office of Senator Marco Rubio. We still have not heard back from him. At Miami International Airport, I'm Yvonne Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
Man, that is wild. That is wild, ladies and gentlemen. I never knew that. I never knew that, but I know it now. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that you guys got something out of this. It was great to have everybody in here. Shout out to you all. Make sure you guys do not move a muscle. Stick around. It'll take you into reacts. Make sure you guys smash the like button and hit the bell there so that you're notified. Let me shout out everybody who supported the stream today. We had a ton of support, 8 stream sponsors. Shout out to y'all. My man AB Promotions. Shout out to Tony for becoming a member. Shout out to Lavanya for becoming a member. Shout out to my man Win Loser Rug with the $20 super chat. Shout out to Chanel for becoming a member. Shout out to my man John Guillory for the 6 months of support. Shout out to Hurricane IQ for the 3 months of support. Shout out to my man DeAndre for the $5 super chat. Make sure that you guys throw some radiation emoji in the chat. Show them some love. Definitely appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, I cannot say it enough.
Up in this life. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. Hold up. Look, walking this bitch like, hey. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like, hey. I'm really him. Don't believe me? Come and see me. Got 3 wishes from my genie. Now I'm on your local TV. Y'all on tour. Got demons. Say she wanna come and see me when I'm in a local city. I'm like, pause though. Please step aside so they can see me. And I walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. On God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. I'm the realest from my city. That's on money, that's on Kiwi, that's on mamas. Niggas don't believe me, come and see me. I been dodging all that fake. All these niggas working broke, but I been getting paid. All that know me from the street. Flexing for what feature, that's like every other week. Talk behind my back, I kick my feet up, have a seat. Cause at the end of the day, all these watching me as I walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. On God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. On God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. Hold up. Look, walking this bitch like, hey. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like, hey. I'm really him. Hold up.